If you're part of the Zoomer sphere, you may have watched this video, but maybe you didn't know that my friend RZ left an awful lot of very obscure, weird, quite intriguing little denominations out, which is, fair enough, because, who has ever heard of these? But we're not gonna let that happen. Today we're gonna tackle 10 of the weirdest, most obscure denominations I can think of and give the most basic nutshell rundown I can. So here goes nothing. Number 1, the House of Aaron. The House of Aaron was founded by a family of Mormons that split off from the Latter-day Saints Church, mostly because of their unusual belief that they were the actual descendants of Moses' brother, the high priest Aaron. Surprisingly, they actually tend to be a little more orthodox with the Trinity and stuff, maybe, my sources are a tad unclear, and they condemn polygamy strongly. But they're just this little group of American fellas that apparently think that they are the actual literal descendants of Aaron, and are thus automatically priests by birth. They are convinced that they will lead the Jews into a triumphal return to their God and Messiah and prepare the church for a second coming of Christ. Number 2, Three Self-Patriotic Movement. If you're like me, a certain Christian denominations quiz may have sent you spiraling into the internet archives to try and uncover the truth behind the Three Self-Patriotic Movement.
What the heck is the Three Self-Patriotic Movement? Why did I get 67% of that? What is that?
Apparently, it is a Chinese Christian church run by the Chinese Communist Party. It is actually the only form of Christianity allowed in China, besides the Chinese Catholic Church, which is also run by the Chinese Communist Party, and has no real actual ties to the Vatican. The Three Self refers to being self-governed, self-funded, and self-propagated, which is kind of funny because, frankly, they aren't self-governed at all. They're controlled by the Chinese government, but okay. The main thing was that it was just created to be severed from the influence of Christianity in any other country. They're actually basically Orthodox Protestant in official doctrine, but the focus is disproportionately laudatory and supportive of the CCP, from what I've heard, not like I've ever been to China. Number 3, the Black Hebrew Israelites are a strange bunch. Their core belief that sets them apart from all other Christian traditions is that they believe African Americans are the descendants of ancient Israel, and the modern Jews are imposters, basically. As a result of this belief, they all moved to Israel, where they exist to this day, hoping to get automatic citizenship from being Jews, which just doesn't seem like something that's going to happen. They are very dispensationalist about all this, and believe that God's promises to the Israelites apply to them, rather than the more orthodox take that those promises now apply to the church. Basically, they are black dispensationalists with really unusual alt history. Number 4, Irvingianism is a tradition that encompasses many Restorationist churches. It all started with Edward Irving, a religious leader who emphasized eschatology and charisma. This church is set apart by its Pentecostal elements, like speaking in tongues and featuring new apostles, as well as its emphasis on the end times and apocalypticism in a very premillennial. You know what? These guys are kind of boring. Let's just move on. Number 5, Southcottism was a strange group founded by Joanna Southcott that was based on the idea that on October 19th, 1814, she would deliver a baby, Shiloh from Genesis 49, the new Messiah. She was 64 at the time and simply never gave birth. Turns out she had a strange disorder that made her appear pregnant, when she was actually not. A couple months later, she up and died. Weirdly, despite all this, without the founder, without the new Messiah, and instead with only failed prophecies. The movement continues to this day, with several strange beliefs, including the theory that there will be 2 resurrections. The first resurrecting the good people to live for 1,000 years before resurrecting the rest to live slightly less happily, but still happily, for all eternity. Number 6, the Plymouth Brethren are a group that stresses a radical form of sola scriptura, in which nothing has any authority on doctrine besides Scripture. Not only is Scripture the only infallible authority, it's just the only authority, period. They don't have any clergy or religious holidays. They were led by John Nelson Darby originally, who, by the way, was the first person to ever come up with dispensationalist theology, so they have a huge emphasis on the end times and apocalypticism, sort of like modern dispensational Baptists. They schismed into 2 groups, the Open Brethren and the Exclusive Brethren. The Open Brethren were less conservative and less reclusive and less restrictive about membership, and more congregationalist than their Closed Brethren counterparts, who were mostly Federalist. Number 7, Christian identity. Everybody wants to be the Jews, and that doesn't stop with the Aryans. The Christian identitists believe that the Aryan race is God's chosen people rather than the Jews, because they are in fact the actual descendants of the Jews in the Bible. Again, this is very influenced by dispensationalism, because most traditional Christianity would say that the church is God's chosen people, not any one race. They do believe in pre-Adamite theory, claiming that all white people are descended from Adam, and all others are descended from lesser pre-Adamite people, and not made in God's image. So maybe a little problematic. Yikes. Number 8, the Neo-Gnostics are a set of little denominations with Gnostic beliefs. Gnostics believe in two gods, a good, greater force and a bad, lesser force. They believe the world is fundamentally bad because it was created by the bad god. The main goal of Christianity to them is to escape the physical existence. The Neo-Gnostics like to incorporate Eastern asceticism and stuff into this as well, including ideas like nirvana and radical theosis. They believe they wield secret knowledge that is explained in complicated doctrines. They believe humans are partially divine, partially physical, but that we must transcend the physical part and become fully divine. Number 9. Swedenborgians believe that the world will go on forever, cycling through founding a church, then it getting corrupted more and more and more, before being judged and replaced. First, they say the most ancient church was founded, then destroyed by the flood. Then the ancient church, which was destroyed by idolatry. Then Judaism, which was destroyed by Christ's death. Then Christianity was founded and destroyed by Swedenborg himself and replaced with Swedenborgianism. The last one really made a huge impact on the world. They believe Swedenborg returned the church to recognizing spiritual internal realities above external appearances. They chose to do 3 sacraments: baptism, communion, and most evangelical of all, marriage, taking as doctrine that marriage is preferred to celibacy. Number 10. Messianic Jews. Messianic Jews are pretty much just the logical response to dispensationalism from the Jewish people. They believe that Jesus is the Messiah, but that the law is still in full force for the Jews, and the Jews are still fully the chosen people of God. And all the Old Testament promises are promises to the Jews. Thus, they believe in Jesus, but insist on keeping the law as much as any Jews do nowadays. They reject replacement or covenant theologies that propose that the church is the heir of Israel, but instead believe in 2 parallel covenants, Jews being the only ones who can participate in both. Well, hopefully you found that interesting. Let me know in the comments, and please, if you did like it, help a brother out and like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. God bless